The desperate gamble. The bridge of the Calorian refugee ship Harmony's light trembled as another explosion rocked the hull. Ambassador Zephyr gripped the command console with his four-fingered hands, his silver skin flickering with distress patterns that painted worry across his elongated features. Through the viewport, the dying embers of his homeworld cast an orange glow against the darkness of space. "Ambassador, our shields are failing," reported Navigation Officer Kelm, her voice barely above a whisper. The young Calorian's head tendrils drooped with exhaustion and fear. "The Morthak vessels are closing in. We have perhaps 10 minutes before they overtake us." Zephyr closed his large, pearl-colored eyes and touched the communication panel with shaking fingers. The Calorian Empire had stood for 3,000 years, built on trade, art, and peaceful cooperation among the stars. Now, in the span of mere weeks, it was dying. The Morthak horde had swept through their systems like a plague, consuming everything in their path with savage efficiency. "Open all channels," Zephyr commanded, his melodic voice carrying across the bridge. "Broadcast on every frequency we know. If there are any civilizations out there who value life, who understand mercy, perhaps someone will hear us." The communication array hummed to life, sending Zephyr's desperate plea into the void. "This is Ambassador Zephyr of the Calorian Empire to any who can hear this message. We are a peaceful people facing extinction. The Morthak horde shows no mercy, takes no prisoners, and leaves only death in their wake. Our military was disbanded centuries ago when we chose the path of peace. Now that peace has doomed us, if there are any among the stars who possess both the strength to fight and the will to protect the innocent, please, we beg for your aid." Light years away, Captain Sarah Chen rubbed her tired eyes as she reviewed the night shift reports at Luna Defense Command. Earth's deep space monitoring station orbited the moon in silent vigilance, its sensors reaching far into the galaxy, always listening for signs of potential threats. At 35, Chen had spent her entire career preparing for a war that might never come, protecting a humanity that had only recently learned they weren't alone in the universe. "Captain, you need to see this," called Ensign Rodriguez from the communications console. His young face was pale with excitement and confusion. "We're picking up a transmission from outside our local cluster. It's definitely not human." Chen moved quickly to the console, her military bearing evident in every step. The war games and training exercises of her youth had prepared her for many scenarios, but humanity's first contact with alien intelligence wasn't supposed to happen like this. The message that played through the speakers carried desperation in every carefully translated word. "My God," Chen whispered as the transmission ended. "How long until we can establish two-way communication?" "The signal is coming from the Kepler 438 system," Rodriguez replied, his fingers dancing across the holographic display. "Given the transmission delay, we could have real-time communication in approximately 40 minutes if they're still there." Chen activated her command authorization codes. "Get me Admiral Stone immediately. Priority Alpha protocols." Admiral Marcus Stone's weathered face appeared on the main screen within minutes, his steel-gray eyes alert despite the late hour. The 60-year-old veteran had lived through humanity's bloodiest conflicts and bore the scars to prove it. His presence commanded respect from every member of Earth's military. "Sarah, what's the situation?" Stone's gravelly voice cut straight to the point. "Admiral, we've received what appears to be a distress call from an alien civilization. They're under attack by what they call the Morthak horde and claim to be defenseless. Sir, they're asking for military aid." Stone was quiet for a long moment, processing the implications. "Aliens," he said finally. "After all these years of wondering, first contact is a cry for help. What's your assessment, Captain?" "The transmission appears genuine, sir. The mathematical principles in their language are consistent, and the desperation in the speaker's voice translated clearly. They mentioned their military was disbanded, suggesting they're truly peaceful. But Admiral, They also indicated this morphic force shows no mercy and has destroyed multiple worlds. Meaning if we don't help them, they die, Stone concluded grimly. And if these morphic are as brutal as described, they might not stop with one extinct species. Prepare the Deep Space Fleet, Captain. I'll contact Earth Command. The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. The communication link with the Kilorian refugees was established just as their ship shields failed completely. Through the static-filled transmission, Captain Chen found herself face-to-face with Ambassador Zephyr, his alien features somehow conveying universal expressions of hope and fear. You received our message," Zephyr said, his words carrying musical undertones that the translation matrix couldn't quite capture. "Are you truly willing to help us?" "Ambassador, I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Forces," she replied, choosing her words carefully. "My people have decided to offer assistance. Can you provide tactical information about these morphic?" Zephyr's expression shifted, displaying what Chen interpreted as confusion. "Tactical information. Captain, we are scholars, artists, traders. We know nothing of warfare. The morphic are large, aggressive, and their ships seem designed only for destruction. They demand submission or death, nothing more." Chen exchanged glances with her tactical officer. A civilization that had voluntarily abandoned military knowledge was almost incomprehensible to human thinking. "Ambassador, what can you tell us about your world? Your people's capabilities?" "We are the Kilorian Empire, keepers of the Grand Archive, mediators of trade disputes, and preservers of galactic culture," Zephyr replied with obvious pride, despite his circumstances. "We have advanced technology for healing, communication, and creation. But Captain, we must warn you. The morphic fleet numbers in the hundreds. Their individual ships are twice the size of our largest vessels. If your people are also peaceful traders." "We're not," Chen interrupted gently. "Ambassador, humanity comes from what you might call a hostile world. We've had to fight for survival since our species began. Our entire civilization has been shaped by conflict, competition, and the need to overcome deadly challenges." The silence that followed stretched uncomfortably long. Finally, Zephyr spoke, his voice barely audible. "You mean, your people are warriors?" "Among other things, yes. We're scholars and artists too, but we've never forgotten how to fight. Are you familiar with the term Deathworld, Ambassador?" Zephyr's skin paled to an almost transparent state. "You? No. Surely not. Deathworlders are theoretical. Planets so hostile that they would forge beings of incredible violence and cunning. The Galactic Council has debated their existence for millennia, but never found one." Chen finished. "Earth is such a world, Ambassador, and we're coming to help." The next 18 hours were a whirlwind of preparation. Admiral Stone had convinced Earth Command to authorize the deployment of the Third Deep Space Fleet, humanity's most advanced military force. 12 heavy cruisers, 6 destroyers, and the flagship dreadnought Terra's Fury prepared for humanity's first interstellar war. Captain Chen found herself aboard the Terra's Fury as Admiral Stone's tactical advisor, her expertise in alien communication protocols making her invaluable for the mission. The massive ship hummed with barely contained energy as its fusion drives powered up for the long journey to Kilorian space. "All vessels report ready for jump, Admiral," announced the fleet communications officer. The bridge of the dreadnought buzzed with activity as humanity's finest prepared for the unknown. Stone stood at the center of the command deck, his presence commanding absolute attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to make history. Not only is this humanity's first contact with alien intelligence, it's our first military action beyond our solar system. We go to aid a peaceful people against an aggressive enemy. We represent not just our own species, but the principles we hold dear, that the strong should protect the weak, that peace is worth fighting for, and that no one should face extinction alone." He paused, looking around at the faces of his crew. "The enemy we face has never encountered Deathworlders before. They don't know what they're up against. Let's show them what happens when you threaten the innocent in front of humans. The fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel with a flash of twisted space-time, carrying humanity's warriors toward their destiny. Behind them, Earth's population waited in nervous anticipation, knowing that their species was about to announce its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. In the cold depths of space, the surviving Calorian refugees huddled in their damaged ship, wondering if their desperate gamble would save them or merely bring about the destruction of another peaceful species. Ambassador Zephyr stared at the stars, contemplating the terrible irony that their salvation might come from the very type of beings their civilization had spent millennia trying to evolve beyond. The Morthek horde, meanwhile, continued their systematic destruction of Calorian colonies, unaware that they had awakened something ancient and terrible. For the first time in their brutal expansion across the galaxy, they were about to encounter prey that could bite back. The stage was set for a confrontation that would echo through galactic history, a clash between the philosophy of conquest and the human principle that some things are worth dying for. The Deathworlders were coming, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Reckoning. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Calorian system, like avenging angels emerging from the void. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of the Terra's Fury, his experienced eyes taking in the scene of devastation displayed on the tactical screens. What had once been a thriving solar system now resembled a graveyard of shattered worlds and burning space stations. "Jesus Christ," whispered Lieutenant Commander Harrison from the sensor station. "Admiral, I'm reading debris fields around every planet. These bastards weren't just conquering, they were systematically destroying everything." Captain Chen moved to stand beside Stone, her face grim as she processed the scale of destruction. "Sir, I'm picking up Calorian life signs in the asteroid belt near the fourth planet. It looks like they're hiding in the shadow of a large asteroid cluster." "And the Morthek?" Stone asked, though he could already see the massive red signatures scattered throughout the system on the tactical display. 237 vessels, Admiral. They're spread across the system, apparently mining the debris fields. Their largest ships are. Harrison paused, double-checking his readings. "Sir, some of these things are the size of small moons." Stone nodded grimly. The intelligence briefings had prepared him for this. The Morthek horde was a nomadic civilization that consumed entire systems, stripping them of resources before moving on. What they hadn't expected was the sheer scale of the operation. "Open a channel to all ships," Stone commanded. "This is Admiral Stone to all vessels. We are witnessing the aftermath of genocide on a scale unprecedented in human history. These Morthek have shown what they think of peaceful coexistence. Today, we show them what humanity thinks of bullies." The first contact came sooner than expected. 3 Morthek scout ships, each the size of a human heavy cruiser, detected the fleet's arrival and moved to investigate. The alien vessels were crude but massive, their hulls covered in what appeared to be armor plating torn from destroyed ships. They looked like scrap metal welded together by a madman, but their energy signatures indicated formidable weapons. "Incoming transmission from the lead scout," reported the communications officer. "It's aggressive, sir." The main screen flickered to life, revealing the first Morthek humanity had ever seen. The creature was a nightmare-made flesh, standing nearly 3 meters tall with gray-green skin covered in ritual scars. Its 4 arms ended in clawed hands, and its face was dominated by a massive jaw filled with yellowed fangs. When it spoke, its voice was a guttural roar that the translation matrix struggled to process. "Small meat ships dare enter Morthek hunting ground," the alien snarled. "You submit now or become food for the horde. Choose quickly, tiny creatures, before War Chief Grimjaw loses patience." Admiral Stone stepped forward, his weathered face showing no emotion. "This is Admiral Marcus Stone of the Terran Defense Forces. You will immediately cease your attacks on the Calorian people and withdraw from this system." The Morthek chieftain threw back its head and roared with laughter. "Terrans, Never heard of you. You are small and weak, like the singing fish people we crush. Grimjaw gives you one chance. Kneel and serve the Horde, or die like all the others. Counter-offer, Stone replied, his voice deadly calm. Surrender now and face trial for genocide, or learn why humans don't negotiate with terrorists. The transmission cut off, and within seconds the Morthac scouts opened fire with primitive but powerful energy weapons. The human fleet's response was swift and devastating. Unlike the scattered, panicked fighting the Morthac were used to, humanity's ships moved with precision coordination that spoke of countless training exercises and hard-won experience. All ships, execute Formation Delta 7, Stone commanded. Let's show them how Deathworlders dance. The human ships scattered in what appeared to be chaos, but each movement was calculated. The Morthac scouts found themselves surrounded by vessels that seemed to anticipate their every move. When the human ships opened fire, their weapons were surgical in their precision, targeting specific systems rather than simply trying to destroy. The first Morthac scout lost its weapons array in seconds. The second found its engines disabled, leaving it drifting helplessly. The third managed to turn toward the human flagship before its entire bridge section was vaporized by concentrated fire from 3 destroyers. Scratch 3 bandits, reported the tactical officer. Minimal damage to our forces. Admiral, we're receiving panic transmissions from the Morthac fleet. I think we got their attention. Indeed, the destruction of the scouts had sent shockwaves through the Morthac fleet. For a species that had conquered dozens of systems without facing serious resistance, the sudden appearance of enemies who could fight back was deeply unsettling. War Chief Grimjaw himself commanded the response, leading 50 of his largest ships toward the human fleet. Ambassador Zephyr watched the battle unfold from the bridge of the refugee ship, his large eyes wide with disbelief. The Calorians had never witnessed combat on this scale, and the clinical efficiency with which the humans fought was both inspiring and terrifying. They move like hunters, he whispered to his aide, not like the chaotic violence of the Morthac, but like predators who have evolved to kill. The main engagement began when the Morthac fleet arrived in force. Their massive ships, some over 1 kilometer in length, bristled with crude but powerful weapons. They attacked in a traditional formation, relying on overwhelming firepower and their size advantage to crush the smaller human fleet. They had made a fundamental error in judgment. All ships implement tactical pattern Omega. Admiral Stone commanded. Time to show them why Earth's food chain produced us. What followed was a masterclass in 3-dimensional warfare. The human ships moved in patterns that utilized every advantage of space combat, using gravitational fields, asteroid cover, and complex timing to turn the enemy's size against them. The massive Morthac ships were powerful, but they were also slow and predictable. Captain Chen watched the tactical display with professional admiration. Sir, they're fighting like they're still on a planetary surface. No understanding of zero-gravity tactics or 3-dimensional movement. Typical of species that conquered through brute force, Stone replied. They've never needed to be clever before. The battle raged for hours, with humanity's superior tactics and technology gradually wearing down the Morthac fleet. But it was the boarding action that truly demonstrated the difference between the two species. When the human Marines breached the hull of War Chief Grimjaw's flagship, the Morthac crew faced something they had never encountered before: humans fighting in their natural element. Lieutenant Maria Santos led the assault team through the ship's corridors, her squad moving with the fluid coordination of predators hunting in a pack. The Morthac were larger and stronger individually, but humans had spent millions of years learning to hunt creatures bigger than themselves. They used the ship's own structure against the defenders, turning every corner into an ambush point and every corridor into a killing field. The final confrontation came when Santos and her team breached the bridge. War Chief Grimjaw stood waiting, his massive frame filling the doorway, all 4 arms wielding weapons. He towered over the humans like a nightmare given form, his scarred hide telling stories of countless victories. "Come then, tiny meat," Grimjaw roared. "Face the strongest of the horde." Santos raised her rifle and spoke with the calm professionalism that marked human warriors. "Sir, you're under arrest for crimes against sentient life. You have the right to remain silent." The battle was brief but decisive. Grimjaw's size and strength were no match for human tactics, technology, and most importantly, the cold fury that came from witnessing genocide. When the smoke cleared, the war chief lay defeated, and the remaining Morthic crew surrendered rather than face the same fate. The aftermath of the battle sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The Morthic horde, which had seemed unstoppable, had been broken by a previously unknown species from a single world. Ships throughout the system began broadcasting surrender signals, their crews too stunned to continue fighting. Ambassador Zephyr stood on the bridge of the human flagship, looking out at the debris field that had once been the pride of the Morthic fleet. "I don't understand," he said to Admiral Stone. "How did you learn to fight with such precision, such calculated violence?" Stone considered the question carefully. "Ambassador, your people chose to evolve beyond warfare. That's admirable, and in a perfect universe, it would be the right choice. But humans come from a world that never let us forget that sometimes violence is the only language that bullies understand." "But the way you fight," Zephyr pressed, "it's not just strength or aggression. It's intelligent, coordinated, like your entire species is designed for war." "Not designed for war," Captain Chen interjected gently. "Designed by war. Every generation of humans that survived did so because they were better at protecting their families, their tribes, their nations. We didn't choose to become apex predators, Ambassador. Our world made that choice for us." The news of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy faster than their ships could travel. For the first time in galactic history, a species had emerged from a death world, and they had announced their presence by defeating one of the most feared forces in known space. The Galactic Council, which had debated the theoretical existence of Deathworlders for millennia, suddenly found themselves facing the reality. As the human fleet began the long process of cleaning up the Morthic presence in the system, Admiral Stone reflected on the implications of their actions. Humanity had sought to help a peaceful species and ended up becoming the galaxy's newest military power. The responsibility was sobering. "Sir," Captain Chen approached with a communication tablet, "we're receiving messages from across the galaxy. Diplomatic inquiries, requests for aid, and—" She paused. "Quite a few surrender offers from species that apparently want to avoid the Morthac's fate." Stone chuckled grimly. "Well, Captain, it seems our quiet little species has become the neighborhood watch. The question is, what do we do with that responsibility?" As the Terra's fury moved through the debris field, collecting survivors and securing Morthic prisoners, the answer became clear. Humanity had evolved on a world that taught them that the strong must protect the weak, that bullies must be stopped, and that sometimes peace could only be preserved through the threat of war. The galaxy had called for help, and the Deathworlders had answered. The age of easy conquest was over, and a new chapter in galactic history had begun. Humanity had found its place among the stars not as conquerors, but as guardians, carrying the hard-learned lessons of Earth to a universe that was about to discover what it meant to have apex predators watching over the innocent. In the ruins of the Calorian system, as rescue ships arrived to begin the long work of rebuilding, Ambassador Zephyr looked up at the stars with new understanding. His people had chosen peace, but sometimes peace required others to choose war. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy's peaceful species could sleep soundly, knowing that somewhere among the stars, the Deathworlders were standing watch.